that's basically a parallel of what is happening here. I think the country is in the crosshair right now.
So you're an entrepreneur. You know what it's like. You've already gone through the rigors of politics, watching your father. Why you now?
I'm running because new generations need to understand they cannot drink the Kool-Aid from people like Raul Grijalva who never be successful in anything.
Nothing. Hey, this is Lou Pimber today. Welcome to Lou Pimber Speaks. And, today I have a very special guest, a local gentleman who is running for office. You see the name Luis Pozzolo. I'm gonna introduce him here in a minute and kind of tell you his story. But it's important that we get to know our soon-to-be elected officials. We should know a little bit about them. And today we're going to get to know Mr. Luis Pozzolo, running for Congressional District number 7. And let's get to know him today. Luis, bienvenido. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you, Luis, for being here. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Luis. Pleasure to be in your show. Thank you for your service. I know you're a veteran. We really appreciate what you do. You're an entrepreneur, as we are too. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So, Luis, now, where are you from originally? What brought you out here to Arizona?
Well, I was born in Uruguay, South America.
Uruguay,
I came here I came to the United States in 2003 into Kentucky. Live in Kentucky for 10, 11 years. From Kentucky, I moved into Texas, and I moved into Arizona 4 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So tell me about that. So you are, in fact, you're an immigrant. Like I'm an immigrant too, man. I became a U.S. citizen in my Army Class A uniform, getting sworn in. I remember that day. And so tell me about that. Tell me about your travel to come to America. Tell me about that.
The country I was born, Uruguay, South America, it became a socialist country. Before, a few months before I saw that happening, we took the decision with my wife to come into America, and do it legally, do it the proper way. So we came, we applied for political asylum. My father was a politician in Uruguay, 40 years in politics. So basically, they gave me political asylum in 6-7 months, and I started like everybody else, washing dishes. And from there, I start moving in. I have an open mind. I like to, basically the challenges. I like to do better every time. And I'm being very successful after that.
So you came from Uruguay on a political asylum. Now, you mentioned your father was a politician up there. Tell me about your dad a little bit.
My father was he started from one of the poorest families in Uruguay, in the, not in the capital. We were born in, in one of the states, smaller states in a city called named Mercedes. He started in politics when he was 20, 21, 27, he was in Congress. 33, 34 years old, he was already a senator. He was able to, get into the vice presidency and the presidency for a few days in 98 and 99. And he died in 2003. That was another, big thing that happened in my life before I decided to, say, well, I have enough of this. I know the country is going in the wrong direction. Let's look for another opportunity.
So what was your father's name?
Luis Pozzolo, like me.
Luis Pozzolo.
Yeah.
Pues lo siento mucho por tu padre. I'm very sorry about your dad, man. So tell me about that process of, coming to America in 2003. You were how old at the time then?
I was I was 30. I'm 50 years old. I was 32.
Okay.
And it's hard, I was very involved in politics. Never participated, but I was very involved. You really love your country, especially what my father was doing. We came out from a military regime in '85, from '76 to '85. My father, flee the country. Basically, every politician, every elected official was put in a blacklist. So I really lost my father, for close to 10 years. Um, and that process was originated for, radical lefty groups, they start try to take the government. The bouncing back was the military taking control. The politicians couldn't basically hold it, and being able to stop what it was called Movimiento Tupamaros in Uruguay. So, I really love the country was born. I love the history. I love what my father did. He was a very honest man, never become rich in politics. He never cared about the money. He was a very, very clean, honest politician until the day he died. And people recognize that in his funeral. They say, well, it was a senator talking about my father, and I said, well, he served the country for 50 years. We bring him back to his hometown, and it was everybody. It was probably 30,000 people there. They raise their hands and say with the hands clean. So that's the best thing you can have. If you ask me today if I want to have $1 million in my pocket or that lesson, I have that lesson again from my father. That was something that I keep in mind in everything I do.
Wow, that's incredible, man. So let me tell you, so when you were a child growing up in Uruguay, what kind of government was there? Was it always socialist, or what type of government was in place when your father was in office?
No, when my father was in office, in the 60s, I was born 71. So 65, 67, this radical movement started taking shape, and I started kidnapping, business people, killing police officers, robbing banks, gun shops. So it really, create a situation where, the military started taking a little bit of the time, taking control. So, like I said, 71 when I was born, it was a a war between the radical communist people. The government was a democratic government. It was elected we have elections in Uruguay every 5 years. Yeah. My father at that time was a senator, was elected senator for one of the traditional parties. So my father never was, we have a two-party systems there, like you have in here. So my father was part of one of the traditional parties. When the political class couldn't control it, the military took over. They sent all the politicians home. They put the president was a military guy. So I grew up basically in that military regime until 85. When I was 14 years old, democracy came back. My father became a senator again in 85. Yeah.
Okay. So what did it take to bring democracy back? What happened?
The people. The government at that time, the military regime tried to basically change the constitution and put a new system in place where the military can have control of the government. The people didn't approve that. That was 1980. So they saw, the people was unhappy what was happening. And, in 82, they started the negotiations for, going back into, call for elections and have free elections. Okay. My father at that time, he was living in Paraguay. He came back at 82, 83, something like that. And he was put in jail, who is told that he can come into the country, but not participate or do any type of political activities. And of course, telling my father that it was impossible. He was a first defender of the First Amendment, and he paid the price. He was in jail for likely for a few months, and he was able to survive. A lot of people didn't survive the military regimes. A lot of people got killed over there, like what we call desaparecidos in South America.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So tell me, you're right before you leave Uruguay, it was a socialist country at that point, full-on socialism, communist. What is the difference? Because I've never lived it. I've just studied it. I've seen it, but I've never lived it. And most people who are going to see this today probably have never lived that. How does it go from either socialist to communist or vice versa? What was that transition like?
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good question. So the country, Uruguay, became socialist. The socialist, what is called Frente Amplio, which is a coalition between the communists, all the revolutionary groups, all the guerrilla groups. They got together. They called a party. They called their party the Frente Amplio. So they were able to win first time the election in '04. So that was maybe a year after I left.
What was the name of that party? What was the name of that party?
Frente Amplio.
Frente Amplio, okay.
Yeah, so Frente Amplio. So basically, your question is perfect because I saw what was coming.
Yeah.
South America, especially, all the countries in the 1900s, 1910, 1920, they start the expropriation process. Uruguay did in 1910, where they took, the railroad from the English people. They took the oil from European companies, and the government said, we are going to run this. We want to have the resources and use the earnings to support the people. And it sounds good on paper, but when you give the government that power, the government doesn't do it. Get corrupt. You don't get efficiency. At this time, you're talking about 100 years from that time. The railroad, we don't have a railroad in Uruguay. The airplane company is bankrupt, so they don't have no more planes. The oil company who does the refinery, how you can lose money, in the oil business. They have 300 or 400 millions and loss every year. So I think liberal policy is a beginning, and the second important ingredient is people unhappy with what is happening in the country, right? So people become apathic of the political class. People, don't believe the political class can solve the issues. And that's basically a parallel of what is happening here. You see the same situation here.
Yeah.
And you had these small groups, these radical groups in Uruguay, they were probably 10-15% of the Frente Amplio. The Frente Amplio mass of people are people who are unhappy with the two traditional parties. And so, you come and you tell, we're going to have a new system. We're going to solve all your issues. We're going to take control. We're going to do this. We take care of the poor. And when you have people that are, pissed off and angry, you have a crisis, and they start generating that hate and that division that America didn't have. Uruguay was an amazing country. I was born, and I always tell people, my grandmother's house, she never locked the door, ever in 20 years. You never, you can come at 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and that door is going to be unlocked. My grandfather was a police officer. So, in the beginnings, after the military took control and everything, it was a very peaceful place. We didn't have all the problems we have. After 20 years socialist, it's a disaster. This country, 2 years ago, one of the traditional parties was able to take it back. But now you have people, they believe in wealth redistribution.
Yeah.
The people, they believe they don't need to work because, if somebody rich over there, that person should give money away so you can live in your home and smoke marijuana, stay home without doing anything. So now the challenges the new government in Uruguay have is being able to deal with a new generation of people that don't understand the system. They were re-educated or brainwashed or, whatever word you're going to use. And that's basically the key. How they did this, I'll tell you my approach on this. I wrote a book in 2013 called Reborn, and I was trying to show people the parallels because in 2013, for me, it was alarming what I started seeing in America compared what happened there, right? And I always tell people, immigration played an enormous key in Uruguay. Uruguay was a small country that, Argentina was in the same situation, Chile, Brazil, all these countries decided to, so we're open borders. We want people from Europe to come. Uruguay did the same. We need more people. And basically, in the 20s and the 30s, you get all the anarchists, you get all the communists escaping Franco in Spain, all the anarchists and socialists escaping Mussolini in Italy. And that people came and got into the education system, got into the newspapers, got into the radio system. And after that, you have the other way. Mm-hmm. After the World War II, you have all the Nazis coming Dr. Mengele, for example, the angel of death, married a lady in the 50s, probably 50 miles away where I was born. And that was after, World War II. So now you have two radicals, and that's why I'm against radicals. I don't think, for example, America was successful because you are able to have a conversation until, 20 years ago. You're able to sit down, you have different ideas. You think we're going to be arguing and discussing the issues. We're going to have a better outcome that, I can have by myself or you can have. That is gone. So that hatred in the people is what they made Uruguay divided, and they're still divided after 20 years. For example, the people that disappear, there are probably 100 people that disappear there. The military basically killed them and buried them somewhere. They're still fighting about that. That happened basically 40, 50 years ago. So you're holding these new generations into that. You're holding the new generation into that hate and that anger because what happened. And of course, our hearts are with the family. They lost a family member, but at the same time, as a politician or as a leader, you need to be able to project to the future and take your people to the future. It's very interesting that Uruguay in 2009 elected a terrorist as a president. So Jose Mujica. So you listen, and Europe, they talk about Jose Mujica as the poorest president in Uruguay. And I give you, a short biography of Mujica. Mujica was a guy who was a felon. He was, kidnapping, robbing, in the street until he got into the Tupamaro movement. So he started stealing cars. So he got in love with his wife, Lucia Topolansky. She's really evil. If you look into YouTube, you will see videos where she's saying, "Yeah, we kidnap people, we torture people, we need information, and we did it." So that was the first lady of Uruguay in 2009. Wow. Mujica at least killed two people, two police officers. They were just, drinking a coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning in a bar. He would come from the back and shoot in the head. And that guy became president of Uruguay.
He was elected into office.
Yeah, in 2009. Yeah. Wow. And that's why I'm telling you, the indoctrination they do in the schools. And, from here, I was talking with a lot of young people and trying to reach people. I said, but you understand that this guy was a killer. This guy, his wife is a confessed, human rights, monster. She's been violating human rights all her life. Oh, yeah, it's okay. We don't care. That was a past, and it's going to be okay. It's like I always tell Americans when I was in that process in 2013, 14, when that happened, Obama invited him into the White House. And that's why they sent the Guantanamo prisoners into Uruguay. That's when, Obama sent all these people into Uruguay, all the Syrians and all these people. They were, they emptied Guantanamo into Uruguay, and after they went from Uruguay, they went back to Middle East. You can research that. Yeah, but it's yeah.
Two things you mentioned. You wrote a book called Reborn. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Reborn,
Reborn, and you're the author.
Yeah. Reborn. Yeah.
Where can people find that? Where can people find that?
It's that was 9 years ago. It is continue. I didn't print a second edition or anything. But I can send you one. I have a few copies in my house.
I love to get that, man. I love to get that. But the book is called Reborn. And Jose Mujica, President of Uruguay, 2009, gets invited to the White House by Barack Obama. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So now you're here in the U.S. You came in under political asylum. You went through the process. You went through the front door, and your path to the U.S. was Kentucky, Texas, and eventually Arizona. ¿Y por qué Arizona? Why Arizona?
So I was working as a director of operation for a company in Texas. So Colamigos Foods. So I was director of operation for that company. I was in charge of Georgia, Texas, and then they said, well, we need help in Arizona.
Okay, so when you came here, but when you came to the United States, you started out as a dishwasher, you said, right?
Yeah.
Right,
so I thought, I give you a little bit of feedback on that. So I started as a dishwasher. That's what I tell people, to be able to succeed, you need to be able to grab skills, or you do it in college, or when you are 30, 32 years old, you come to a different country where the culture is different, where everything is different, the laws are different. It's very hard. So my life in Uruguay was banking. I was, working a federal bank all my life. A couple of years, I was working the capital, but 13 years basically banking.
Okay.
So I came to America, and banking here is very different than the banking over there. So I couldn't find a job. So I started, dishwasher. I moved into a recruiter for a diversity program in Toyota because I was bilingual. So I did a few, courses and training to be able to be a recruiter. From there, I moved into a railroad company in Kentucky called R.J. Corman. I started as a assistant manager, accounting assistant manager. And 2 years later, I was the safety manager and safety trainer for the company.
I see.
Yeah. So, from there, I started doing training with Microsoft. So I got certified by Microsoft as a business analyst and implementation manager for Dynamics AX, a financial tool that Microsoft was developing at that time. So I went to work for Altec, with a biotechnology company in Kentucky. And it was few people that knew the program. So I have a company from Texas called Universal, who basically is a contractor with NASA too. So I finished working in Gemini building there for a year and a half, for this company called Universal. So I did all the functional design for their financial application there. And I got tired. I didn't like to be sitting, and doing all the business analysis and sitting too many hours in the office. So one of my neighbors owns Amigos Foods, and they offered me a position there. So I started doing Microsoft work. They had some licensing issues. I was doing all the DOT for them. 90 days later, he said, "Man, you need to be running this place. You're director of operations from day one." And I said, "Okay." So I went into that company, and I moved into Arizona.
And so now I understand you're a business owner, right?
Yep.
I know. Tell me about your business.
My business, the Boxmeat shop. So basically, I noticed there are a lot of farms in America. They are too small to be in the big retail, but they do very high quality products.
Okay.
I was looking at that time. I was training a lot. I was running marathons. I did 5 Ironmans.
Nice.
So I was looking for healthy food, healthy proteins. So, and I was, in the meat business, and I was, trading, as a director of operation for the company. You had a big responsibility. You're buying Canada beef, you're buying Mexican beef, you buy beef here, chicken, seafood, everything. So I started looking into that and say, I should move into have my own business. I don't need to travel between Georgia, Texas, and Arizona. So I moved my family here. I love Arizona. The day number one I came here.
Yeah.
I came out of the plane and I love here. Texas is so humid, and so I said I love this place. And we talked with my wife. I moved here. A few months after I moved here, I told the owner, I said, "Look, I'm gonna open my own business," and I left, but I didn't open my business for another year. So I was driving from Phoenix to Maricopa City, and I have a vice president of another company called Harvest. They do all the distribution for Sprouts. And he said, "Man, I send you a contract to your email." I said, "I know you quit your job, but we need you here for a year." And I said, "Man, I have everything ready to start my business, but the number was a very good number." So I went back to 1 year working with Harvest.
So let's talk about what's happening now. I see you're running for Congress, right? LuisForCongress.com, and for Congressional District number 7. And a very well-known person is currently in that position. It goes by the name of Raul Grijalva, right? In my area, where the part where I'm at originally from, everybody knows this person, and so for different reasons. Now, let me ask you this question. What made you choose, what made you run for office? You have a successful business, you have a great background, a wonderful family, you've already gone through the rigors of politics watching your father. Why you now?
It's a very good question. I was trying to stay away from politics. I have a lot of people that came in the last years and said, you should run, you should do this, you should do that. And I always felt, look, I want to stay here, run my business. I opened, the box meat shop, Maricopa. Last year, we opened Fountain Hills. And my plan was to continue doing that. I said, well, open 10, 15 of these shops. And every place I go, I'm very successful. So I said, I'm going to keep doing this. But, it's impossible, to be part of a country where, this country gave me so much, gave me a second chance. I won't be sitting here talking to you without the American dream and the opportunity this country gave me. And so in 2012, when I became a citizen, I became, entitled to rights, but obligations too. And I think the country is in the crosshair right now to be something maybe the same or worse with all the countries in South America.
You said something very important. You said something very important. I want to make sure people heard that. When you became a citizen, you were given certain rights, but also obligations.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Absolutely. I think, I always question people, they have dual citizenship, for example. So how you can be citizen of two countries? Right. Your pledge of allegiance is very clear. You renounce to any allegiance to any country or wherever. And second one, you need to be a productive citizen. My immigration process that, I basically impose myself an assimilation process. And I start from day one, it was a federal charge. It was a conservative federal charge. Everybody told me he will never give me political asylum. I said, they give 60,000 cases. I think that was the number at that time. I think they're exceeding that number. Immigration is going to deny your case. He's going to send it to a federal judge, and he's going to send you home. And I said, okay, that's okay. So I was, that day in the federal court, I was prepared to whatever. If we need to go back, we'll go back.
¿Y qué año fue eso? 2003? Y fue el 2003.
Yeah, that was like 04. With the whole process and everything. 04. Yeah, I think it was the end of 04, beginning of 05. Okay. Because it was back and forth. The process is kind of, it's a long process, and the application and everything. So, the judge asked me a question. He said, look, what do you think that happened, if you just decided to go back home and you just shut up? And I said, maybe I'll be okay. But my question to you is, what would happen if everybody who believes in freedom shut up? That was my question to him. I said, I'm answering you with a question. What would happen with the war if everybody who believes in freedom will shut up?
What are you saying? Would be quiet? Would shut up? You said, or show up?
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, well, that's what he told me. You may be, too vocal and too too strong. You go back over there. You just play low profile. You'll be okay. Right. But so if everybody play that game, who wins? The tyrants, the people they want to control us, the people they want to have us under their soil, under their foot. And we don't. My father fought for that all his life. I couldn't do that. So they gave me 30 days. You have 30 days. In 30 days, you need to go to this office. You have your political asylum grant. And I show up in this office, and they gave me like 7, 8 applications and said, look, you need to fill out all this paperwork. I said, well, I have a federal order here. So to start my process to get my Social Security, my driver license. And the lady said, well, you fill out this paper and they're going to give you an EBT card. You fill out this paper and we're going to pay for your house. This other one is to apply for gas for your car. And I said, no, I don't want any of that.
They will give you a bunch of stuff so you can apply for free stuff.
Oh yeah, they do. They do that to everybody now. So I said, look, I don't want any of that. I'm here for my driver license, my Social Security card, and I'm going to be lost in your system. You will never hear about me again. So I imposed a assimilation process to myself. I
So
shut down the Hispanic channel for 3 years so my wife can learn English. I was trying to get into everybody. I was working in a railroad company where you have all the hillbillies from Eastern Kentucky. And people say, no, you will never be promoted to a management position in that place. These people will never respect you. And I was in the middle of nowhere around the country with hundreds of them in the railroad. Never happened. Anything happened. We eat together. They learn about me. I learn about them. And, have beers in the hotel at night. And, we became friends. I still talking with some of that people.
so the key, what you're saying is you came here under political asylum. The government offered you a bunch of free stuff.
Oh yeah.
You said, I don't want it. Just give me my social security number. Let me, and you chose to assimilate and earn your way here.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. I see way too many people who come here on political asylum, and I see them with their little cards of free money that they get once a month. Free money that they get once a month. Housing, money. These, they think they've earned it. They haven't earned a dime. We have to come here. We have to earn our place here. We have to earn it here, just like everybody else does, or should be at least. So I give you a lot of respect for that, man. I didn't realize that, that they offered you a stack of papers to fill out for free this, free that, and housing, etc. Government assistance. You said, no, thank you. I'm going to earn mine. Respect for that, man. Respect. So tell me.
And that was the process all the time, Lou, because before, at least in my case, when I applied for my green card, there were questions over there that you need to prove that you are not living and you really were able to sustain yourself and your family.
Yeah.
So that was the process before. Now they steal the law, but they don't apply the law anymore. They don't follow the law anymore.
Wow, interesting. So I just learned something right now. I learned something that I always suspected because I see it. When Barack Obama let in a bunch of people, and I saw a lot of them, and they had this how should I say, their demeanor was like we owed them something. Mm-hmm. And I would see them in certain areas shopping, and I knew that these are part of those people that were living in the country with their little cards, just buying stuff all day, stuff that we have to work for, man. We got to work for that. So you're running for office now for Congressional District 7 against Raul Grijalva. What's your platform? What do you believe in? What makes you different than Raul Grijalva? What makes you better than him?
Well, I believe in the American dream. I believe in America and the American foundation. If you look to understand Grijalva, you asked me a question. You text me the other day, and you said, I want you to tell me something that Grijalva did good. And I spent a lot of hours yesterday and today, and I didn't find anything that really helped the people.
Let me repeat the question. Tell me, what has Grijalva done good? Let's just be honest here. Has he done anything good ever?
I don't believe. Again, to be able to understand Raul, I don't think he did anything right. In his mind, who is a delusional Marxist, he have done a lot. He keep the border open.
He got arrested.
The cartels are coming through, no problems. He was able to put his family in every position. So his chief of staff wife is a mayor in Tucson. His daughter is in a position. All his friends are in different positions. So if you can call it that a good thing, maybe it's a good thing for a bureaucrat. But
it's nepotism at its finest. You're absolutely right. His wife is connected within the mayor's office in Tucson. Okay. Yeah. Daughter within the Board of Supervisors, which is, by the way, how Raul started at the Pima County Board of Supervisors, right? Mm-hmm. And so, look, in your case, you have a business. You've led people. Do you have employees? Do you have any staff that work for you?
Yeah, so, I do have employees. Yeah.
So you're an entrepreneur. You know what it's like to have people rely on you to be successful in order for them to be successful. Yeah. Unlike what I've seen, let me tell you something. The talk around here about Grijalva is he's just another politician. Mm-hmm. There's so much other talk that goes on around here about the man, and he's just another politician. He's just another talking head who gets himself arrested to try to make a point, and basically is just literally a talking head and just repeats the same narrative. Loves the whole racism card like to be thrown out there. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. And
can I interrupt you
yeah,
for a
please.
second in that point, because we're going to forget about this. So Richard Lawrence Jr. And you probably say, what is that name? So it's a company called Overlook Holding LLC. Overlook Holding LLC. Richard H. Lawrence Jr. So this guy, who is a white guy, who is in the raising of a Asian economy, is one of the people who put money in Raul Grijalva campaign.
Who put money in Raul Grijalva's company?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's one of the PACs that. So Raul talks about, like you said, about the minorities, about the brown people, about the Chicano, about the La Raza, about the natives. But he made a deal with elites 20 years ago. So how you can be talking about the white oppressor, your campaign is financed by the white oppressor. So let me put it. So Overlook Holding is a $6.5 billion investing company in Asia. This guy wrote books about that. So how they do it, I tell you, cool effect and high rise foundation. So there are two foundations. They look like, well, you look into, his fake report and say, well, these are environmental organizations. But you start looking who found this company are these people. So these people are basically praising Asia economy, and they are not investing $6.5 billion in American land or businesses. They're investing the company in Asia. So he get paid. His campaign get paid by that people. So he's a hypocrite when he talk about, I care about the people. How you care about the people? You have 300 people dying on fentanyl every day. He has not say one word how he's going to stop fentanyl to come into America through the border. So you have 55,000 people dying every year. That's a Vietnam War every year on fentanyl. Do you hear Raul Grijalva saying, I'm going to close the border. This is how we're going to stop. We are going to budget more money for Border Patrol so they have better equipment and you have more people so they can really, because Border Patrol basically, they have in the port of entry, 8 seconds, 10 seconds to look into, well, that's okay, So, Raul is a very hypocrite person. And if you start looking into that's what I'm saying, to understand Raul, he's not just a politician. He's a far worse than that. Yeah. Raul Grijalva is a person who started before he got into education, because he was in the board, before he was in the board of supervisor, he was in the school district. And it's a reason why he was there. And the reason is that he started as Aslan, Mecca, and Raza activists.
Right.
Okay. So if you read, and I have it over here, I'm sorry, I need to put my glasses, I'm 50 already. Mm-hmm. So the plan of Aslan is, about revolution and separatists. They are no quote. These are, real teachings that Raul was doing at that time in the 70s. So basically, these people want to say self-defense against the occupying forces of the oppressors at every school, every man, woman, and child. Aslan belongs to those that plant the seeds and gather the crops, and not to the foreign European. We do not recognize frontiers on the Bronze continent. So Raul basically planned, he elected Congress, was to send all the white people home.
Right.
And when he became a congressman, first month he became a congressman, he met a judge who already is dead, and a doctor who was a wife. So they had dinner with him. They were two Democrats. And I can take you to that person. The wife was a very famous oncologist in Yuma. Sit down with Raul in the 90s, in 2002 when he became a congressman. And I said, so what is your plan, Raul? Like you are asking me now. Well, my plan is to give California, Arizona, and Texas back to Mexico. So Raul is being delusional. Raul is not a lawmaker who is there to help the people. Raul is a person who has an agenda, is paid to have an agenda. He's very smart, playing low profile. So, he's the most radical congressman in history. Ocasio-Cortez and Omar are babies compared with Raul Grijalva.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Raul Grijalva is. People doesn't understand Raul. So if you keep looking into that, see what the Cold Pink, 2004, with Senator Brooks from California. They wrote letters to be able to send Cold Pink people into Fallujah, Iraq, with $600,000 in cash to provide help to the people who are killing American soldiers there. Wow. That's Raul Grijalva. Cold Pink. All that information, and I have copies of that, disappear. He gave diplomatic letters to people so they can go through Iraq with a diplomatic letter. So if you look into Cold Pink, who was founded in 1980, is a Marxist organization who is against, they believe soldiers are international terrorists. Our soldiers are.
Yeah.
So that's Raul Grijalva.
What is that
that's
group called again? What is that group called again?
Cold Pink. Cold, C-O-D-E, Pink. Cold Pink.
Cold Pink. Oh, I see.
Cold Pink. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, look.
Yeah.
So what is your platform? What is the border? What is your position on that? How can you improve that? What can you do better than Raul Grijalva is right now? Tell me about that.
Well, anybody can do better than the Raul Grijalva, for sure. But, I've been very involved in the immigration issue from the last 8-9 years in Washington, in Kentucky, when I was in Texas, met all the ranchers. I was able to meet Border Patrol. I always was interested in the border because they're trying to show you there's just a problem about people coming to work.
Yeah.
But you have the child smuggling, you have the drugs smuggling. So what you can do better, I think it's very easy. You don't need more laws. We need to enforce the laws that we already have.
Got it.
Okay. And basically, Congress had the power to give more resources to Border Patrol. Congress approved the budget. So Border Patrol need more resources and being able to apply the law. You don't need more laws. Basically, we have a government that just forgot about that. And second one, you need to bring prosperity into these places. And prosperity comes, for example, I give you an example, mining. Raul Grijalva has been fighting the miners for the last 20 years. And I'm not talking about mining from the, 100 years ago when, you have 50 people dying every week. So in Arizona, in the last 3 years, we have only one miner, one fatality. Okay. So you have companies applying for example, South 32 in Nogales, who in 2040 is going to be 100% carbon monoxide free. Okay, you have you have this other company, the Rosamond in the other side. That's Pima County. So
Rosemont.
These two, yeah, Rosemont. So these two mines are basically one in each side of the mountain. One is in a private land. The other one is federal land. They have complied with all the requirements, all the environment requirements. They are able to recycle 70%, 75% of the water, plus bought water, to be able to 100% of the water they use is coming back. Wow. Right? So they are not taking any water. So they comply with all the environmental rules. This is a $2.5 billion investment. It's going to bring 2,500 jobs for 2 or 3 years. And after the mine is complete, 500 jobs that pay 90 to 100,000. What is a lot of money for Pima County. Wow. So you have all the port of entries. You have all the port of entries of Mexico in Congressional District 7. Before, the Cochise port of entry were not in CD7, but they are now. After redistricting, they are in my district.
Right.
So basically, trade is very important. I was already in Mexico, sit down with the brokers and businesses and Mexican people from the Mexican government and say, nobody came in 20 years. I'm glad you're here. I said, look, I'm here to talk about trade. What we can do better for you and
no one's been into Mexico to talk about trade from the District 7 at all?
No, in 20 years.
So your plan is, your platform is enforce, in terms of the border, is enforce existing laws, not new laws. We don't need any more laws because it only makes things more complicated. And number two, bring prosperity back into the district 7.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to free these people's hands, and and we need to be able to, through education, taught these people, that the American dream is alive and it's possible. If I was able to do it, and that's the reason I'm running. I'm running because new generations need to understand they cannot drink the Kool-Aid from people like Raul Grijalva, who never been successful in anything.
Nothing.
He never had a job in his life. So listen to people. They are like you. I'm not white. I wasn't born over here. I have an accent, and I was able to succeed in this country. Why you cannot? Don't listen to these people. And that's the message that we need to bring, with prosperity, because you bring the jobs, and after you have the unions and you have, all these organizations trying to boycott the businesses. So we need to bring a business mentality. People doesn't want to invest in CD7, and everybody will tell you, hey, Raul is against businesses. He doesn't like businesses.
Right.
And I look, I believe in the environment. I will not support any company who produce damage into the environment. But I will ask Raul Grijalva, okay, how many pounds of copper is used for the electric car that he drives? Well, he cannot drive because I think they took his license again, DUI. But basically, how many pounds of copper?
Where's
the lithium? Yeah.
To bring up some good points, let me ask you something about the American dream, man.
Yeah.
The American dream for someone like yourself who's an immigrant, I'm an immigrant as well, versus someone who's from who has this idea of wanting to give this area back to Mexico, is just it's like this fantasy they want to live in. Whereas people like you who are entrepreneurs, there's no fantasy. Every single day, look, in your career as a working in the United States, how many people have you led? How many people have you led or supervised?
350, 400.
As an entrepreneur, how many people have you hired?
Oh, 1,000.
Thousands.
Maybe 20,000.
Right? When you look at that, when you compare that record with a guy like Raul Grijalva, who's never led anyone, who's never hired anyone, who's never built anything, people need to hear your message. They need to find out who you are. You know, so they can go to luisforcongress.com. Right?
Yeah, Luis and number 4.
Congress.com.
Yeah,
Congress.com.
Absolutely.
Look, I'm going to end on, what is your message on the American dream? What do people need to hear about the American dream? Because let me tell you something. In America, we can write our own story. We can come here,
yes,
and it is also very forgiving. It gives you a second shot. It'll give you a second shot. And entrepreneurship and capitalism is what's made America as great as it is today. You know, and we need more leaders like you who are actually, in fact, leading people. Tell me, what is your version of the American dream, and what should it look like for District 7?
For District 7, like I said, we need to change education. We need to be open for businesses and investment. People need to understand that government doesn't create jobs.
Correct.
Private sector does. So the jobs that people like Raul Grijalva create when they hire 10 staffers is paid by the taxpayer. That's expense. Right. It's not a job.
Right.
So that's the number one. The second one is people need to understand that they need to transfer their values from one generation to the next one. And we need to fight the education system, because the education system is trying to void and kill that. They want our kids to believe the baloney they want to tell them. And that's exactly the process I saw back in Uruguay. It's the same process that happened in Argentina. It's the same process that happened in Cuba. Same process that happened in Venezuela. The government is going to solve for me the problem. Well, I will tell you that every person is different. And the only way you can get out of poverty or become a better person or become a successful person, it will not come from the outside. It will not come from your wife, from your friends, or from the government. It comes from the inside of you. Until you don't believe and you are, get the skill to be able to do that, you will never succeed. Even if the government come and say, I give you $1 million, you lose $1 million, you burn the $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's over.
You brought up a very good point, and I'm going to end on this. You said transfer of values. We need to make sure that as immigrants, or just as people, as American citizens, we need to make sure there's a transfer of value that takes place. And speaking to the immigrant, no matter what country you may come from, you have to transfer those values. And a lot of times what happens is when you go through the assimilation process, the people who want you to think like a victim, in fact, are keeping you from transferring your values. They're keeping you from transferring your values to your children. So that transfer of value, it means you assimilate, you learn the language, you don't forget your language, you don't forget your culture. You come here and you become a productive citizen in America. And I think you've done that, my man. And I have to, and I respect you for wanting to run for office. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I look forward to meeting you in person someday, sir. And mis respetos para usted y para su familia. And look, you know, thank you so much for being here with me today, Luis Pozzolo. Much luck to you, sir. And they can find you on Luis4Congress.com. And they can give to your campaign there as well, sir. And thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lou.
Adelante, señor.